Let me tell you something that most people who study physics never get around to admitting out loud. The comfortable story we tell ourselves, the one where physics is this finished cathedral of knowledge, this grand completed architecture of laws and equations that humanity has neatly assembled over 4 centuries of careful work, that story is a lie, not a malicious lie, a comfortable one. The kind of lie you tell a child when they ask why the sky is blue, and you say it reflects the ocean. It feels true. It sounds reasonable. But the moment you actually start pulling at the real threads of what we know, the whole comfortable picture starts to shake, and underneath it you find something that looks nothing like a cathedral. You find a storm. Now, I have spent a very large portion of my life doing physics, and I want to be honest with you in a way that academic settings rarely reward. The thing that keeps me genuinely awake, the thing that I find most thrilling and also most terrifying about the universe, is not what we have figured out. It is the raw, staggering, almost violent scale of what we have not figured out. And more precisely, what we are beginning to understand we may never fully figure out, not because we are lazy, not because we are not clever enough, but because nature operates at a mathematical depth that is so unfathomably alien to our ordinary ways of thinking that the standard tools we built over centuries are simply, categorically, not up to the job. Let me give you a picture that I think gets at this honestly. Suppose someone hands you a single photograph, a perfectly sharp, perfectly accurate photograph of a still puddle of water. The puddle is small, maybe a foot across. The image is crisp. You can measure the diameter of that puddle with great precision. You can analyze the chemical composition of the water. You can run every classical equation you know against that photograph and extract real, accurate, useful information. And then someone tells you, very quietly, that this photograph is your only tool for understanding a Category 5 hurricane, not a metaphor for a hurricane. An actual, roaring, 200-mile-wide Category 5 storm with 150-mile-per-hour winds and a wall of churning water miles high. The photograph is not wrong. Every measurement you take from it is accurate, but it misses everything. It misses the rotational structure, the pressure gradients, the towering convective cells, the chaotic interactions between water vapor and ocean heat and upper atmosphere winds. The photograph is a perfectly faithful record of a tiny, still fragment of reality, and reality is a Category 5 hurricane. That is classical physics. That is the situation we are actually in. The first place this becomes brutally, arithmetically clear is when you try to do something that sounds straightforward. You try to simulate quantum systems using ordinary computers. Now, a classical computer is a remarkable machine. The kind of machine we have built is honestly astonishing, and I say that not as flattery, but as a physicist who remembers when the fastest computers in the world filled entire rooms and could barely keep up with the arithmetic a first-year student does by hand. Today we have computers of extraordinary power, and they are nowhere near good enough. Not by a factor of 10, not by a factor of 1,000,000. By a factor so enormous it breaks the kind of intuitive number sense most people carry around in their heads. Here is the cold arithmetic of it. A quantum system, even a modest one, is not described by a simple list of numbers the way a classical system is. When you have a collection of particles that are quantum mechanically entangled, the state of that system is not stored in each particle separately. The information about the whole system lives in the correlations between all the particles simultaneously. And the mathematical object you need to describe those correlations grows not linearly with the number of particles, not polynomially, but exponentially. Every time you add one particle to the system, the information required to describe the total quantum state roughly doubles. This is not an engineering problem we will eventually solve by building cleverer chips. This is a mathematical fact about the structure of quantum information. So when you try to simulate, say, a few hundred electrons that are genuinely interacting with each other quantum mechanically, the memory required to track the complete quantum state of that system exceeds, by a comfortable margin, the number of atoms in the observable universe. The entire visible cosmos does not contain enough matter to build a classical computer that could store the complete quantum description of a few hundred entangled particles. Think about that carefully, because it is not an exaggeration and it is not poetic license. It is a straightforward consequence of the exponential scaling of quantum information worked out with simple arithmetic. Nature, apparently, has no trouble with this computation. Nature runs it continuously, everywhere, in every atom of every object you have ever touched. The electrons in your hand are doing it right now. The photons streaming from the sun are doing it. Every quantum process in the universe is performing, effortlessly and instantly, a computation that would require a classical machine larger than the observable universe to even record, let alone run. This is not a gap in our understanding that better funding will eventually close. This is the universe telling us, in the clearest mathematical language available, that it does not operate classically. That the machinery underneath everything is of a fundamentally different computational character than anything we built during the last 4 centuries of physics. And this is what I find so genuinely strange and wonderful and disturbing. The realization is not that quantum mechanics is complicated in the way that advanced classical mechanics is complicated. It is that the universe is, at its base, performing a kind of information processing that has no classical analog whatsoever. The game is not being played on a board we recognize. The game is being played on a board that, from the perspective of classical physics, does not have a finite number of squares. It has an exponential number of squares, and nature moves on all of them simultaneously. Now, I want to talk about something that is in some ways even more unsettling, because so far we have been talking about the computational complexity of quantum systems, about how difficult it is to simulate nature. But there is another thing I want you to sit with, and it concerns what we ordinarily call empty space. Most people, when they hear the word vacuum, picture something serene, a quiet room with the furniture removed, an absence, nothing happening. And I understand that picture because it matches our everyday intuition about emptiness. But the physical reality of what we call the quantum vacuum is so far from that serene picture that serene is almost comically the wrong word. Empty space, according to our best physical understanding, is not empty at all. It is a continuously boiling, churning, violently active field. Everywhere in the universe, even in the most remote region of intergalactic space where no matter has ever drifted, the vacuum is seething with what we call virtual particles. These are not hypothetical particles. They are not a bookkeeping device. They are real fluctuations in quantum fields, pairs of particles and antiparticles that materialize out of the energy inherent in the vacuum itself, interact briefly, and annihilate each other in intervals of time so short they are at the edge of what our clocks can resolve. And this process is not occasional. It is not intermittent. It is happening everywhere, continuously, with a ferocity that makes the surface of the sun look calm by comparison. The energy density of these vacuum fluctuations, calculated straightforwardly from quantum field theory, is extraordinary. So extraordinary, in fact, that it sits at the center of one of the most embarrassing discrepancies between theory and observation in the history of physics. Our best quantum field theory predicts a vacuum energy density that is, depending on how exactly you do the calculation and where you cut off the energy scales involved, somewhere between 40 and 120 orders of magnitude larger than what we actually observe as the cosmological constant, the observed energy density of empty space. That is not a small discrepancy. That is the largest quantitative disagreement between theory and measurement in the history of science, and it tells us something important, which is that we do not actually understand the vacuum. We know it is active. We know it is boiling. We know that real, measurable physical effects like the Casimir effect and the Lamb shift in hydrogen energy levels are direct consequences of vacuum fluctuations. These are measured in the laboratory. They are not abstractions. But the full theoretical accounting of vacuum energy remains deeply, seriously unresolved. This is the bedrock of physical reality. This is what space is made of when you remove everything from it. Not stillness, not nothing. A furiously active, computationally seething, energetically dense storm of quantum activity that underpins every physical interaction you have ever observed or measured. Every time 2 charged particles repel each other, the force is mediated by virtual photons popping out of this vacuum and carrying momentum between them. Every mass that bends space-time is embedded in this roiling background. The fabric that everything sits on is not a quiet substrate. It is the most violent environment in the known universe. And this brings me to the third thing I want to describe, because it connects directly to what I think is the deepest and most honest message about the nature of physical knowledge. We have a principle in quantum mechanics. It is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, and I want to be very precise about what it actually says, because it is commonly misunderstood in a way that softens its bite considerably. People often describe it as saying that our instruments disturb the particles we measure, that if we use light to observe an electron, we knock it around and introduce errors. That is true, but it is not the deep truth. The deep truth is more uncompromising than that. The principle says that certain pairs of physical quantities, position and momentum being the most famous pair, do not simultaneously possess definite values. Not that we cannot know both values, that they do not both exist as definite values at the same time. Nature, at the quantum level, is not a clockwork machine with precisely defined gears, running in a precisely defined trajectory that we simply fail to measure perfectly because our instruments are imperfect. Nature literally does not have the precisely defined trajectory. The uncertainty is not in our measurements. The uncertainty is in the thing itself. This is a statement about reality, a statement about what exists. And it means that the dream of classical physics, the Laplacian fantasy of a universe where if you knew the position and momentum of every particle you could, in principle, predict the entire future and reconstruct the entire past, is not just practically out of reach. It is not even coherent. It describes a universe that does not exist. The universe that exists is one where the deepest layer of physical reality is irreducibly probabilistic, where nature offers us not definite answers but statistical distributions, where what we call a measurement is not a passive reading of a pre-existing value but an interaction that forces a quantum system to commit to one outcome from a range of possibilities, and where the range and the probabilities are written into the structure of the system before the measurement occurs. Now, some people hear this and feel something like grief, the loss of a perfectly predictable cosmos, the loss of the idea that with enough cleverness and enough computing power, we could pull back the curtain completely and see the mechanism running underneath everything. I understand that feeling. I felt something like it myself when I first really absorbed what quantum mechanics was saying. But I want to offer you a different way of sitting with it, because I think the grief is based on a misplaced attachment. The clockwork universe was always a fantasy. It was an extrapolation from the behavior of macroscopic objects, cannonballs and planets and springs, to the behavior of the fundamental constituents of matter, without any real justification for the extrapolation. The universe never promised us a clockwork. We assumed a clockwork because the large-scale classical behavior of matter is, to an excellent approximation, deterministic, and we made the very human error of assuming that this approximate large-scale regularity reflected something deep and absolute about the nature of reality all the way down. It did not. The approximate classical behavior is a kind of statistical average of the underlying quantum behavior, and the underlying quantum behavior is fundamentally probabilistic in a way that is not an approximation of something deeper. It is the thing itself. What we have discovered, by working through this honestly and without flinching from the mathematical implications, is something I find far more interesting than a clockwork. We have discovered that the universe at its foundation is a system of a mathematical richness and an operational depth that vastly exceeds anything our classical intuitions prepared us for. The exponential scaling of quantum information, the seething, energetically dense activity of the vacuum, the irreducibly statistical character of quantum measurement. These are not embarrassing gaps in our understanding that we will patch eventually. They are fundamental features of the reality we inhabit. And the understanding that we do not, and perhaps in some precise mathematical sense cannot, simulate the universe on a classical machine is not a reason for despair. It is the starting point for something genuinely new. It is the reason we are beginning to build quantum computers. Not just because quantum computers are faster in some conventional sense, but because a quantum computer is a device that processes information the way nature processes information, using the actual quantum mechanical degrees of freedom of physical systems rather than trying to approximate quantum behavior on a machine that operates classically. Feynman said it, and I will say it again because it is true. If you want to simulate physics, you had better make the simulation out of quantum mechanics itself. Nature gave us the blueprint. The blueprint was always the quantum vacuum. the entangled states, the irreducible uncertainty. We were simply not reading it correctly. The most scientifically mature thing a person can do is to look at the boundaries of what is knowable, the hard walls that the mathematics places on our predictive power and our computational reach, and to recognize those boundaries not as failures of human ingenuity, but as features of the terrain. The terrain is not friendly to classical intuition. It was never going to be. The terrain is a quantum mechanical universe of staggering computational depth, of furiously active vacuum, of fundamental statistical character, and the honest, clear-eyed recognition of that terrain, the willingness to follow the mathematics into places that feel profoundly counterintuitive, the refusal to paper over the deep weirdness with comfortable classical analogies that do not actually hold at the quantum scale, that is not a retreat from understanding. That is what understanding actually looks like when it is being done correctly. There is something genuinely wonderful about standing at the edge of what we know and looking out at the scale of what we do not know yet. Not because ignorance is a virtue, but because the shape of our ignorance tells us something real about the shape of the universe. The fact that quantum systems are computationally intractable by classical machines tells us something true about the structure of quantum information. The fact that the vacuum seethes with virtual particle activity tells us something true about the nature of quantum fields. The fact that physical quantities at the quantum level are irreducibly uncertain tells us something true about the ontology of the universe we actually inhabit. The photograph of the puddle is accurate. It just does not tell you what you actually want to know about the hurricane. The only way to understand a hurricane is to put yourself inside one, to build instruments that work at hurricane scales, to develop a mathematics adequate to the violent, dynamic, roaring reality of what the storm actually is. The universe is asking us to do precisely that, not to retreat to the comfortable stillness of the puddle photograph and declare the work finished. To build the instruments, to develop the mathematics, and to stand honestly in the roaring middle of what reality actually is. That, to me, is the most thrilling invitation I have ever received.